Welcome to 1500ESPN.com. My name is Andrew Kramer. I want to thank you for joining me as we go over three keys for the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Oakland Raiders on Sunday. They're going to go to the Coliseum for the first time in a long time to face Bill Musgrave for the first time since he has left Minnesota to go join the Oakland Raiders. First to stop in Philly, then to go to the Oakland Raiders, where he's leading a pretty potent Raiders offense led by Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Latavius Murray out of the backfield. They're doing a bunch of different things, much more diverse than maybe you were used to seeing with that small play card here in Minnesota from Mr. Musgrave. He's got the weapons. He's using them. They're predicated on yards after the catch. They're taking chances. They're turning the ball over, which might present some opportunities for this Vikings defense. But it leads us to our first key, in that they need to make Derek Carr pull the ball down. They need to pressure him. Now, they've faced a lot of fast-throwing quarterbacks in the NFL through their 8 games. Names like Alex Smith, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, another quick-throwing quarterback. Those 3 are in the top 5 for the fastest-throwing quarterbacks. Derek Carr's at number 6 at 2.4 seconds per throw. How do you do that? How do you counter him? Might be some press coverage on the outsides. Might be a lot of blitzing like they did with Phillip Rivers. Mike Zimmer has changed up what they've been doing against some of these quick-throwing quarterbacks. But the talk within the locker room of the Minnesota Vikings is wrap up, tackle, don't let Amari Cooper take those yards after the catch. He's third in the NFL with over 300 of his 600 some yards after the catch, which is a pretty ridiculous rate, meaning they're throwing him screens, slants, stops, and then they're trying to take advantage of the double moves once they get that short game going to then try and stretch the field. So the Vikings have to be disciplined. This is a very sound tackling group out of the secondary, which is going to bode well for them against these guys, specifically Cooper, Amari Crabtree, and even Latavius Murray. They're kind of getting him out of the backfield and using him as a receiving threat as well. They're banged up, though. It's not totally clear if Cooper's going to play. He's been dealing with a concussion. I think also Latavius Murray's been dealing with his own injury, so they're banged up, but so are the Vikings. The Vikings have Teddy Bridgewater on the injury report. Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks have not practiced this week, but Mike Zimmer was pretty optimistic about having all of those guys available. This might also be the game that Sharif Floyd comes back. He's missed 3 straight games with some knee and ankle injuries, so if they're up to full strength, that'll help them against this potent offense. So key number 1 is to make Derek Carr pull that ball down, get him out of his rhythm. He's a lot of 3-5 step drop guy. So to do that, it's going to be quick pressures. Now, do you rely on the front four, or do you send extra and maybe risk some of that back end stuff? We're going to have to see what Mike Zimmer wants to do, but game plans change during the games anyway. You saw that a couple weeks ago with the Detroit Lions when the Vikings went into Ford Field, kind of backed off, got torched, gave up those 2 touchdowns right away. We're down 14-3 out of the gate. Then Mike Zimmer kind of put the throttle down, ended up blitzing Matthew Stafford about 50% of the time the rest of that game, and it worked out. So just whatever game plan they're cooking up now doesn't mean that's what they're going to stick with in the game, whether or not they want to back off Derek Carr or blitz them. But this defense has been pretty damn successful when we're talking about them getting after the quarterback and blitzing him. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do that against the Raiders. The Raiders, though, have only given up 8 sacks in the NFL, this year in the NFL, and a big part of that is because of how quickly Derek Carr is getting rid of that football. So however they can disrupt his rhythm, that's going to be a big key. Number 2 for the Minnesota Vikings, though, is going to be to avoid any kind of a shootout. Teddy Bridgewater in this offense has not been playing as well as they need to out of the passing game. This is very much an Adrian Peterson run offense, and he hasn't been hitting those big home runs that you were used to seeing earlier in the season or throughout his career. Adrian Peterson, his long, I believe, last week was about 15 yards. The week before that, it was about 12 yards. And so they're not really getting those big home runs quite yet. But at the same time, he's been very efficient the last 2 games. So they're going to lean on Adrian Peterson, have that defense clamp down on Derek Carr, and try to avoid the shootout. Now, another big thing with this isn't one of the 3 keys, but another big part of that is going to be get the turnovers. Mike Zimmer's defense has been great the past few weeks, the whole season. They're allowing the second fewest points in the NFL, the second stingiest third down defense in the NFL, which includes a 19% conversion rate over the last 5 games. That's really good. That's not, for instance, the NFL's top, I think it's the Houston Texans over the entire season, have given up 27%. The Vikings' last 5 games, just 19. So that's an alarming, an amazing rate for the Vikings. You need to stick to that and then get the turnovers. 3 straight games for the Minnesota Vikings without a turnover. That's how you go from good to great defense. If you can start changing games like that, scoring, doing the things that you're used to seeing from these great NFL defenses across the board, whether you're talking about the Broncos, Seahawks, Steelers of yore, Ravens of yore, They were teams that could go from good to great by taking the ball away and basically producing where their offense could not. And right now, this Vikings offense is not producing the way they want it to. They're 30th in the NFL in passing. They're one of the top groups in rushing. But if you get down, that's not how you come back from a game. So avoid the shootout is key number 2. And then for number 3 for the Minnesota Vikings, it's going to be to pound the rock and keep Adrian Peterson moving forward. That's how you help Teddy Bridgewater kind of stay in his rhythm. Teddy's expected to play after going through the NFL concussion protocol. He practiced in full on Thursday, which is a good sign for his chances to play on Sunday in Oakland. Avoid that letdown and keep Adrian Peterson going. Like I said, Adrian Peterson at 30 years old leads the NFL with 758 rushing yards. It's no coincidence because he leads the NFL in total carries as well. So they're leaning on him as much as anybody's leaning on an NFL running back. And at 30 years old, he's on pace to become the first back over 30 to lead the NFL in rushing since Curtis Martin in 2004. So he's defying the odds with age. Now just lean on him and keep doing that, and you'll be able then to control the time of possession, control the clock, keep the ball out of Derek Carr's hands, and then hopefully, if you're the Vikings, keep the score low because they've been able to grind out these close wins, and that's kind of who they are right now. They're not a team that's going to win a shootout. So avoid the shootout, lean on Adrian Peterson, and then make Derek Carr pull that ball down and disrupt his rhythm. Those are the 3 keys I got for you guys for this Vikings team at 6-2, going into the Oakland Raiders at 4-4. And it's beginning a hell of a stretch for the Vikings against quarterbacks in the next 5 weeks. Now, give me some time here. Hopefully, I'm not wrong. They're playing Carson Palmer, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, and Derek Carr the next 5 weeks. Those are 5 quarterbacks because Peyton Manning's not who he used to be. So, those are 5 of the best quarterbacks they'll face all year. They're going to be tested. Now, just avoid that shootout and grind out another win against the Oakland Raiders. I want to thank you guys for joining me at 1500ESPN.com. Please check back for more.